what I've seen is that a lot of the larger firms out there, so sort of your large super funds and fund managers, have developed quite large teams over the last 3 or 4 years. And now they are starting to develop more the junior talent. However, that being said, small to medium-sized firms are still potentially, in some cases, lagging behind, where they're still looking to develop out, head of sustainability or head of ESG positions.
Welcome to The Greener Way. I'm your host, Rose Mary Petrass, Senior Journalist at FS Sustainability. We are recording on Gadigal land. We pay our respects to traditional custodians of country and elders past, present and emerging. Today, we sit down for a chat with Simon Gvalda, Manager for the ESG and Responsible Investment Recruitment Team at Kaizen Recruitment, who just released their much-awaited salary guide for ESG roles in 2024. Simon, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Rose. Thank you so much for having me.
Please tell us about yourself, your role, and how did you get into this industry?
Yeah, I have been working in the recruitment space for a bit over 4 years now. My background actually started working in financial planning for about the first decade of my career, which gave me a very good overview of the funds management, superannuation, finance industry and the like. Ended up moving into recruitment right at the start of COVID, which was a bit of a crazy time to make a career change. But I've joined a great business and have been going from strength to strength ever since. Ended up getting into the ESG side because I'm passionate about making a change, a difference out there, and being able to work with and place people into these roles is a good way for me to be able to make a slight difference indirectly. But it's been great working in this space.
There's certainly no shortage of talent. We were at the Responsible Investment Association of Australasia conference last week. I saw you there. There was hundreds of people there. So, Simon, you have a real insight into the finance industry from that background that you had prior to becoming a recruiter. What is involved in finding talent for top ESG roles? And is it different to the mainstream finance sector?
Yeah, no, thanks. Great question. The clients that we are working with are looking for a very broad range of talent in the market. So we are seeing quite a lot of different skill sets required within this space. The ESG side of things, usually I find it is candidates that have ESG experience, so the environmental, social, governance aspect, but also other skills such as investment research, reporting skills, investment stewardship skills, going out and advocating for different issues. Can even be along lines of data and business development, AI, various policy aspects. So there's many different areas that candidates and skill sets that candidates have in this particular space at the moment, which usually is making it challenging for some businesses to find the right talent as they're looking for multiple skill sets that may typically be within one client, within one candidate, within one job, and they're looking for multiple job skills in one person.
Right, yeah. And the one thing that everyone wants to know about is the ESG salary survey, which you've just put out. What are the top findings? What are the trends? Is ESG still hot? And the big question on everyone's minds, what salaries are we seeing for ESG roles?
Yeah, it's been great to get the report out. A lot of work has gone into this report. Some of the big findings that we're seeing are definitely, as far as the top 4 skill sets we've been seeing for people in the industry at the moment, the biggest one has been the reporting skill set, so understanding of ESG reporting. Next was ESG integration, so being able to bring those skill sets and ESG issues, looking at materiality assessments and bringing that into the firm that they're working with. The other two, which were very closely tied, were due diligence and risk analysis skill sets, and just general ESG research skills have been sort of the top 4 skill sets we've been seeing through our survey that we provided and salary guide. One of the interesting insights has been that the industry itself, we've found, is actually quite diverse, with our survey coming back with 54% of survey participants coming back with saying that they identify as a woman, with 45% men. The extra 1% is for those that prefer not to disclose their gender identity. And another interesting fact that we had come through, which I found quite surprising, but does make sense, is that 70% of respondents in the survey have indicated that they have postgraduate qualifications. So it could be things like, graduate diplomas or master's level, PhD and the like. The reason for this, I believe, is because a lot of people previously may have gone into, say, a commerce degree or, a Bachelor of Science or, Bachelors of Engineering or law, and may not have had the skill sets, those dual skill sets I was talking about before across things like, investments, or, maybe they've come from an investment background and don't necessarily have the ESG, skill set. And so a lot of people have upskilled over the last few years to broaden out their skills across different areas to make sure that they could work in this space. But I guess the thing everyone is very much interested in, as you said, is our insights as far as salary ranges and the like. We've got quite a bit of detail that we've provided in our salary guide, but I'm happy to provide just a level of where sort of the median salaries are at the moment for a few different levels that we're looking at. Junior analysts, we've seen looking at a median salary range, which does include super, but excludes bonus for each of these, is at 80K. That's generally 0 to 3 years. 2 to 3 years experience would be analysts, looking at about 111 on average. Senior analyst, about 160, which is about 4 to 10 years experience. Managers with about 7 to 10 years experience are looking at around 205. Senior managers, 10 to 15 years experience, about 250. And then when you've got head of teams, so like your head of ESG or head of sustainability, typically with 15 to 20 plus years experience, you're looking around the 314 mark. That being said, we have actually provided a lot of data on bonuses received, the bonus potential and the like of candidates, which generally is in addition to those base salaries, particularly at the more senior levels where people get access to these bonus structures and the like. So there's a lot of potential upside for a lot of candidates out there, but you'd have to have a look at our report directly on our website to take a look at the further details on that.
So those salaries, they're pretty high up there, but is there anything else that's attracting people into these ESG roles over other similar roles in finance?
Yeah, I think the main thing that most people are attracted to in this space is that they are very passionate about creating positive change. A lot of people are passionate about the industry, about environment, particularly climate change is a big issue. A lot of people come have stories, or particularly people coming from other countries and the like, where, modern slavery and human rights are not taken as seriously as in Australia and the like. A lot of people are wanting to create and see positive change out in the market, and they see this as a very good way to get into this space and to create change.
Definitely.
And particularly within the financial services and finance side, investments, money does unfortunately or fortunately make the world turn round. And I think a lot of people do see that where money goes and speaks, that you can create a lot of change, and that comes through the financial services side of things.
You mentioned that the industry is very diverse. According to the findings from your survey, I believe you said that it was more than half females within the ESG roles, and also very highly educated, with a lot of people having postgraduate qualifications. So for our listeners who want to break into ESG and sustainability in 2024, what should they do? What steps should they take to start that transition? Is there any particular courses they should take, or is it all about those skills?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess the main factor is, well, there's two factors to this, being the education piece. So, being able to go out and upskill, depending on where you may be, lacking in knowledge of the ESG space. So, it could be going out to look into tertiary level qualifications, so master's degrees or graduate diplomas, that sort of thing. But there is also other courses such as the CFA ESG Investing Certificate through the Chartered Financial Analyst Society. There's also the Cambridge University in the UK has a online Sustainable Finance Leaders course. There's also the PRI Academy, which does responsible investment course, which you can look into to try and upskill in this space. The other areas I'd say, or ways to kind of get into this space, can be if you've got experience in your current role or the ability to work or in various areas, putting your hand up, doing secondments, working on various projects in the ESG space, even things like, putting your hand up to work in different working groups. So maybe looking at a diversity and inclusion group in the organization can help to just showcase your interest and experience and get a little bit of that experience in this space. Unfortunately, at this stage, a lot of people are very interested in this space. It has taken off very much over the last 3 or 4 years, and there's a lot of interest in working this space. So any way that you can diversify your skill sets and showcase that you have those skills in your that is definitely going to get you to differentiate yourself from other candidates that you're competing with out in the market.
Certainly. And as you mentioned, you kind of said a bit there that it has been booming a lot in the past, 3 or 4 years. So are you seeing that the demand is kind of slowing down and there's more competition for these roles and there's more that people have to do to differentiate themselves?
Yeah, so I believe there's definitely been more competition coming into the market for talent, especially at the junior end, as a lot of graduates and that are very interested from the next generation in ESG issues and the like. What I've seen is that a lot of the larger firms out there, so sort of your large super funds and fund managers, have developed quite large teams over the last 3 or 4 years. And now they are starting to develop more the junior talent. However, that being said, small to medium-sized firms are still potentially, in some cases, lagging behind, where they're still looking to develop out, head of sustainability or head of ESG positions, particularly with the focus on mandatory climate disclosures and that coming up at the end of this year, which is going to put even more pressure on businesses and that for talent.
I just wanted to go a bit off script here because another question has come up in my mind as we're talking. We did speak a little bit about this previously. So I'm wondering, I guess, if COVID and those layoffs that happened during COVID, as well as the shift to remote work, did that have a substantial impact on the development of the industry and that skill development, especially among, younger graduate candidates?
Yeah, look, I feel like there has been a bit of a challenge through COVID, as people haven't necessarily been in the office as much, especially through that few years when a lot of us were in lockdown and the like, to sort of learn and develop from more senior people in the organization. So, however, that being said, at the time or over the last few years, there has been definitely a undersupply of talent, particularly at that probably middle sort of range of, probably 5 to 10 years of experience, where many of those in those kind of levels have been promoted into more senior positions over time, which has then allowed more junior talent to be able to fast track their careers in some ways, because they're needing to get across much broader skill sets than they probably would have during that time frame.
All right, so you mentioned that candidates require skills like data and research. What other specific skills, including soft skills, are required for these roles?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, there is a very broad range of skills that people need in this space. You can become very specific or on skills, or remain very broad in your skill set. What we find is generally people will either go very broad but not very deep, or very deep and get expertise in one area but won't have the breadth. So, you can't necessarily be an expert across human rights and, climate change and governance and all the underlying issues. And it's just not enough time in the day or the week for everyone to get across that. The soft skills, though, that are needed, very much communication skills, writing capability, as you most likely will be working on reporting and data and the like, being able to engage with various companies, particularly from an advocacy standpoint, is very important to have those communication skills and be able to work in a team. So teamwork is most like I said, you're not most likely not going to have every skill sets and expertise across absolutely every area. So you need to be able to work with others who can bring their own viewpoints and knowledge and expertise into the team.
Right. So you have to be a bit of a generalist and a good communicator. What other career tips do you have for our listeners who might want to, go for that promotion or land an interview in their dream ESG role?
Yeah, look, I'd say somewhat like I mentioned before, it's really about showcasing your passion in this space, but also understanding that this is going to be a long-term play. You're not going to unfortunately change the world tomorrow, but it's a slow and incremental change that will, as we keep pushing towards this and the change keeps accelerating, there will be more happening in this space. So showcasing your passion without being overly passionate is, usually something that employers are looking for, being able to look at that from a practical standpoint.
Right.
But if you're able to get experience from, like I said, secondments or working on different projects, putting up your hand to really get that exposure to different areas within this space, that's where you're going to be able to differentiate yourself.
Yeah.
I do see data in particular being a strong point of focus, particularly reporting and the like, as I mentioned, with the mandatory climate-related disclosures coming out later this year. So there is going to be different areas, but you want to make sure that you're interested and keen on that space and keep an open mind about, working across different areas.
Yeah. Well, Simon, thank you so much for your time today. Where can people connect with you and find the Kaizen Salary Guide?
Thank you. It's been great to be on the show. You can find us at our website, Kaizen Recruitment. That's KAIZEN recruitment.com.au. If you have a look under our news tab, you'll be able to find and access our ESG salary guide. I can also be found on LinkedIn if you'd like to connect and have a further discussion.
The Greener Way podcast is a product of FS Sustainability, a show about people, the planet, and investing in our collective future. All information in this podcast is for education and entertainment purposes only. The Greener Way podcast gives listeners access to information and educational content provided by discussing numerous financial sustainable options and our featured guests. It is not intended as a substitute for professional, legal, or tax advice. The hosts of The Greener Way are not financial professionals and are not aware of your personal financial circumstances. Before making any financial decisions, you should read the product disclosure statement and, if necessary, consult a licensed financial professional. For more information, head to the disclaimer page on the FS Sustainability website, fssustainability.com.au.